So I'm gonna lead the next section. I just really am grateful that we are exploring just transition, and then also that Zoltan was available to be able to present, because I think they're connected, right? Um, well, one of the things that I thought was a common thread, there are several, but that they both were talking about being place-based, right? And that just transition will look different depending on where it is. So I think as a statewide network, we're trying to, figure out what Zoltan referred to as the particularisms of different communities and grassroots local people, and then also what Climate Justice Alliance refers to as frontline, those on the front lines and those most impacted by extractive economies. They're the same, same place-based values. So I think one of the things we want to talk about is what is the role of a statewide network? So we have five different roles that we are exploring at WNPJ that can hopefully help us move in that direction. So the first one is connector. And there we go. So WNPJ has been really good at connecting for 30 years, connecting different groups. So we're going to continue to create opportunities for network members to get to know each other and each other's work. And we know that so often we're deep into our daily work of our peace and justice efforts that we unintentionally sometimes find ourselves in silence. So we don't have the time or resources to be able to figure out what everyone else is doing. So that's really one of the roles of WNPJ, is to be able to help people break down those silos and make connections. And we just really hope that we can keep expanding and inviting more people to join into the network. One of the other roles that we really are hoping to do is be a catalyst. So WNPJ sees it as our role to find and share educational resources and tools, opportunities that can help strengthen network members' work and their understanding of a just transition. So for instance, this whole evening was sort of thought up as being with the role of catalyst in mind. So we're hoping some of these ideas tonight, whether they're from Zoltan's presentation or from Climate Justice Alliance, that they sort of act as a spark for you as you move forward in your own organizations, but as you are part of the network as well. So we want to keep doing those, presenting things that make you say, this is interesting. This is sort of, igniting something for me. So the next role that we are hoping to play is incubator. One of the ways WNPJ plans to strengthen our commitment to just transition is by actually tuning into our member groups' new and emerging work. So for groups committed to deepening their work in just transition framework, the network really aims to provide support during that process. So, when you think about it, when you're starting a new endeavor, whether it's like starting a campfire or learning how to ride a bicycle for the first time, engaging in something new like that takes a special kind of care and attention. So WNPJ wants to support these efforts and really be able to, offer what we can, obviously depending on capacity and what's needed, but that's one of the roles we're hoping to play. The other one the fourth out of the five ones that we're presenting tonight is amplifier. So to truly ground in a just transition, WNPJ will focus on supporting the peace and justice work of those on the front lines and those most impacted by the extractive economy, which also means we will highlight and invest resources in those leaders' vision, and direction. So one thing that I think is really important to note about Amplify is that to amplify something implies that, we're making something louder or stronger than it could otherwise be on its own. But the key part there is without changing the original content or intent, right? So in our small group, someone mentioned sort of, really listening to frontline communities and leadership, but then making sure that we sort of get out of the way if we're not those most impacted and we're able to really, let the leadership lead. So to amplify and not alter the leadership of those on the front lines, WNPJ really needs to make self-determination of those frontline leaders central to our work. So the last but not least important is a reflection space. So WNPJ really wants to explore what are some opportunities and tools for network members to reflect on their work with the aim of deepening our understanding of the just transition and also our accountability to it, right? So, you know, we all know that peace and justice work is a lifelong, windy, complicated road. And, you know, once we complete projects and campaigns, for example, it can be really valuable to reflect on what was the impact of our actions. So it's important to explore what we learned. Sometimes there's things we would have done differently. And our slide left. Oh, there it is. Explore, you know, things we would have maybe done differently, and also to celebrate. That was another thing in our small group, was like celebrate accomplishments. You know, we talked about David and Goliath here, and sometimes it's just really important to acknowledge what we have done and the resistance and resilience that is happening. So as a network, we really believe those lessons are valuable to share, you know, with one another so that our wisdom can expand exponentially as we continue on this collective journey. So those are the 5 roles that we're sort of want to share with you and we're thinking about. I'm super excited about it in this next chapter with all of you. And we know that network members and member organizations will help shape all of this as we move forward. I wanted to say, if you're interested in sort of this visual graphic of, you know, where we're headed and some of the other things that you're seeing on the slideshow, we have an assembly guidebook. Maybe some of you were able to look at it in the email that was sent out earlier, but Judy just put that in the chat. Thank you, Judy. There's just some takeaways that can be helpful to reflect on. So right now, you know, in the spirit of talking about how we're going to work on this together and be in collaboration, there's a few ways that we want to introduce new ways for members to plug into the organization. So the first one is WNPJ's monthly virtual drop-in hour, which we're calling Weaving the Web. And the beauty of this one is that there's no agenda. I think about all the meetings that probably collectively we have all been in that have so many agendas. And I know agendas are necessary to get things done. And, you know, it's just part of the nature of the work. But the beauty of this one is that there is no agenda. So we had our first Weaving the Web session in November and had a really rich conversation with a handful of people throughout our state. And the conversation jumped from, you know, activist efforts that people are working on currently, to sharing oral history of activist efforts over 10 years ago, to sharing books and resources that people are learning from, and so much more. It was really wonderful. So I'm looking forward to the next one. We have sort of scheduled it for the first Thursday, noon to, there we go. We've jumped ahead a little. So it's noon to 1 p.m. the first Thursday. And so that will be December 2nd of the next month. One of the things that actually came out of the last session was that, you know, we're going to create a survey and see if that time works for our members, and if there's a time that might work you know, better for people. So keep an eye out for an email survey in the future for the new year if it turns out that other people have different times that work best. But that's one way. And then the second way, which I'm really excited about, is having an online member circle. So this will be different than WNPJ's website, which is available to the public. This is going to be specifically for members that, you know, will receive a password into an online community where we can share information about organizing efforts, turn to each other for tips and resources, and overall just stay connected with one another. So keep an eye out for we're going to make an informational video to share more details of what that will include and how it will work, and we'll be sending that out. So those are a couple ways to keep an eye on how you can engage, and also just old fashioned like email. I just want people to know I'm just an email away, and I'm eager to hear any of your thoughts, concerns, brainstorms. So please don't hesitate to write me. And Judy just put my email in the chat. So thank you again, Judy.